You are now chopping it up with the Nerd Barbershop Podcast. Welcome to a brand new episode of the Nerd Barbershop Podcast. I'm Terry Williams. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. I know it's been a while since I've done a podcast episode. Don't worry, I got some more heat, in the chamber. So hopefully I'll drop a couple of episodes real soon. But on this episode, I want to talk about AEW has actually released some new footage for their upcoming game. We actually know that the title of the game will be AEW Fight Forever, which I think is a really dope name for a wrestling game. Also, the game plans to release in the fall of 2022. I think I saw an article or a Twitter something that said September, but as we know, games can always be delayed, so we're just going to say fall of 2022 to be on the safe side. So, in a brand new video that they dropped, they actually showed them first on their AEW Games Twitch channel this morning as of May 4th, 2022. And so they showed off Kris Statlander versus Nyla Rose. The first video was about 40 seconds of Kris Statlander getting her offense in, and then the second video was about 40 seconds of Nyla Rose getting her offense in. Which isn't a lot, which kind of sucks. They're kind of taking the Arc System Works trailer, strategy of not showing a whole lot of the characters off. If you play King of Fighters 15, he was following that game. Arc System Works barely showed off anything in their trailers. It seems like AEW Games is doing something very, very similar, which has its positives and its negatives. The big negative because you want to see the game, but of course they're still working on it. It's still super, super early. And also, in these two videos, they actually showed Ref Aubrey Edwards. So the referees will be in the game. They'll be moving around the ring and stuff like that, which is really, really cool. So some of the things I liked about, I'm just going to kind of put the two videos together since they're not that long. Just kind of talk about them both, as one. First of all, I really liked how the game looks. Some people, they didn't like it. They're like, oh, it doesn't look, it looks like, they look like action figures, like PlayStation 2 graphics. I'm like, bro, PlayStation 2 graphics did not look that good. So you need to get that kind of out of your mind. Because I realized a lot of people play video games from a very casual level. And they don't understand some of the nuances of what next gen looks like. But some of the lighting, and all those things will be improved. But I really liked how the game does. They look like action figures. Where it kind of took the more hyper-realistic versions of No Mercy and I think virtual wrestling and just kind of toned them down a little bit. But I still like that they look arcadey. They're very colorful. They pop. They don't look very stale, which I really like. There's a lot of color, especially because Kris Statlander is in her second variation of her character, where she wears like the lime green leotard and she has like the green and pink. Like her hair is like green and pink, and she has like the pink face paint, and it's really cool just to see those colors pop. And I really like for Nyla Rose's entrance, where her facial animation, because she does kind of like this, this shout when she like she takes off her mask, raises her hand, and the flame comes up. I really love the details like in her face. You can just see like the little crinkles in her cheeks and stuff like that, which is really, really cool. You can see like the crowd looks very interactive. I know they were actually doing crowd noise or crowd chants at some of the previous like AEW Dynamite events. Justin Roberts was leading the crowd in different chants, so there's gonna be live chants in the game. You can actually hear a Statlander chant towards the end of her little reveal video. I also really like just having Aubrey, having the refs in the ring is really cool. Even though Aubrey she was very kind of motionless. She was very just kind of, the ref is just kind of reffing. But it would be nice if she got a little bit of her personality, like some of her, because if you watch AEW wrestling, Aubrey's very kind of exuberant. She has really good animation. She's very animated. She's very energetic. I would love to see her ref model maybe even carry some of that into the game. Well, maybe not. We'll see. One thing that was really noticeable was if you watch Kris Statlander's video, when she hits Nyla doesn't sell the hit. Like, she just kind of just stands there. And a lot of people were saying, like, oh, this could be blocking in the game, or it could be something else. And some people are like, oh, I don't like that. But I was like, maybe it might be an ability. Maybe early in game, because Nyla is a heavyweight in the women's division. Maybe, early in matches, she sells punches. And after you get her health down, or you get her to, like, after a certain point, after the match goes on for a few minutes, then punches start landing because she's more fatigued and things like that. So maybe there might be character abilities where certain characters can, at the start of matches, they have these buffs and maybe they go away as the match go on, or maybe characters gain buffs as the match goes longer. Like maybe, Darby Allin, he gets stronger as matches go on. His durability kind of kicks in, or something like that. Just a thought. But I thought it was interesting that, because if you watch Nyla Rose's video when she hit Kris Statlander fell. So maybe they're putting that in. Maybe they have like maybe character traits or maybe something like that. Another thing a lot of people were saying, because there's like, if you watch the video, there's like this stutter in gameplay where like after a certain, like after moves, there's like this impact stutter. And some people was like, oh, they didn't like that. I wonder if you can cut that off. I'm like, I'm pretty sure you can't cut it off. I'm pretty sure that's built into the game. And I kept seeing it. I watched the videos like a few times, maybe 5 or 6 times. I'm like, that looks so familiar to me, but I couldn't figure out where it was coming, like where I seen it recently from. And then I finally thought about it. Killer Instinct, the newest Killer Instinct. If you watch it, those hits, every hit has like this stutter that adds this impact, and the camera kind of shakes, and it's very interesting. And I'm like, I think that's what they added to the AEW game, where that sense of where all the moves have like this impact. Like, yes, it needs to be smoothed out, and maybe some sound effects, some lighting stuff. Like, it needs to be a little bit more like a smoother transition. But it reminded me of Killer Instinct, and I think Street Fighter V had that too, where when you hit certain attacks, there's like this stutter to like really kind of convey that impact of the move. I think they might be doing that in AEW games. And as you know, Kenny Omega is a big fighting game fan, so I have a feeling that maybe Kenny Omega might be throwing some fighting game references or some fighting game mechanics into AEW Fight Forever, which I hope is true, because that would be really, really dope. Also, I actually read an article that I saw. I think it was on Sports Gaming Online. I think it's Sports Gamer Online. I forget what it's called. Look up the article. I can't quote it. I don't really remember it. They were saying that there might be some tension between Kenny Omega and Yuke's, who are developing the game. Like, there might be some issues, and Kenny's kind of frustrated with how the process has been going. And so, hopefully, like, the game still comes out pretty good. But I think AEW wants this to be kind of a one and done type situation, because they don't want AEW Fight Forever to be made every single year. They want it to be maybe one, do DLC, do some other like minor updates, and then maybe make another one 2-3 years down the line, which is really, really dope for fans, because again, you don't want to kind of oversaturate the industry or the the market with your game, or you just don't want you don't want that. And then it gives developers a time to make a new one to really improve. But because of kind of the situation between Ukes and AEW, they kind of want this to be a one and done deal. But one of the big issues that I read was it's the game engine. If AEW owns the game engine, it's kind of fine. They can kind of cut ties and do what they want. However, if Ukes owns the engine, they're obviously super limited, and it could be a little bit of a tussle to get that to kind of get that situation figured out. So hopefully they kind of figure out their differences all as well, and the game is really, really solid. Again, the game doesn't need to be game of the year, but the game, we want it to be solid. And so I'm really excited about the game. I'm really excited for what it looks like. I kind of hope like the referees, they kind of have some more personality and stuff like that, because Aubrey, if you watch AEW, she's very personable, so it's like Bryce Remsburg, and they'll have their own personality. So it'd be cool if that comes into like with their referees. Don't let the guy be in the way per se, but just let them, kind of, vibe and be a part of the act. Because the ref is the third member of the match. If it's like a singles match, the ref is the other person in the ring. So it'd be cool if they're a part of that story as well as part of the gameplay. Not necessarily getting in the way or doing weird stuff or hitting you with super kicks and swantons, but just being kind of energetic like them and really getting into being a part of the action as well. So I'm really excited for AEW Games. It is going to release on consoles and PC, which was announced as well during the AEW Games live stream on Twitch. I know the modders are excited, which is really, really dope. So hopefully we get to see some really, really cool stuff. And yeah, I'm just really excited for the game. I just, I want the game to just be good. Like, I just want the game to be solid and be a really fun representation of the AEW roster. Because the roster, if you watch AEW, they do some really dope stuff. Like, the moves is how they interact, is what they do in the ring is really, really cool. So if they can emulate a lot of stuff in the game, it would be sick. Like, the character customization might be off the chain. Like, I know Fire Pro Wrestling World added like a move editor where you can create your own moves. Like, if AEW game has something similar to that, or just kind of the creator suite is like has some of that type of detail, it's gonna be insane. Plus, all the music is nuts. Like, Mikey Ruckus has been going hard. He's been going hand with all the AEW themes and the music and things like that. So the music in the game is gonna be insane. Plus, you have, of course, a couple of licensed tracks like CM Punk, Jon Moxley, Hook, Jungle Boy, of course, all have licensed themes from the artists. So Tony Khan is just like shelling out money. But I can't wait. A lot of people talking about the graphics. I like they look like action figures. I like they look like toys, because again, it's something that's kind of timeless. You know, like everyone thinks like realistic means better, and that's not necessarily true. I'm actually gonna do a podcast really, really soon about are video games still fun? And I think one of the things a lot of people think real is fun, or like all the realer looks, like all they put so much money into the graphics, like it has to be good. And we've seen games that look really good and are really shitty. So that's the thing. So it's not it's not like a guaranteed 1-to-1 thing. Good graphics equals good games. That might not happen. But I do like the aesthetic. Also, says the game, like I kind of said before, is it going to be a yearly release? They need a really solid art style and really solid, like, kind of foundation of how the game looks so it can hold up. One thing that makes, No Mercy and Fire Pro Wrestling and Here Comes the Pain, Just Bring It, SmackDown 06, SmackDown vs. Raw 06, SmackDown vs. Raw, the first one, even Dirty Days of Reckoning, what made those games so fun? And of course, No Mercy, WrestleMania 2000, WCW vs. NWO Revenge, WCW vs. NWO World Tour. Like I can go on and on about some really solid wrestling games. But what make those games so good is that their art style, it just lasts. It looks fun because you kind of get drawn back to that time. It's almost like a time capsule, And so I think that's what's really, really special. And I think if AEW Fight Forever really nails their art style, the game will be fine. I think the game looks fine. They're gonna add more shading. There's gonna be more shadows. The lighting is gonna change. It'd be cool if they add like the lights in the crowd, because like if you go to like an AEW live event, you will notice it. The lights are like a little bit different. Like different parts of the crowd have different lights on them. So there's things like that. Of course, the sound's gonna get improved. You're gonna have Justin Roberts. I love the lower third. Like I hope they do like the lower third gags that they did with like Hangman and Adam Page. Hopefully, there's some of that in the game as well, which is really, really dope. So I ain't talking about like how the stage looks really, really good. The Dynamite stage, and that's just the only one. So I'm really cool if they have like the daily place arena, where it's just one tunnel that everybody comes out of, and where the fans are a lot closer. So hopefully there's definitely some cool ideas that they can do with AEW Fight Forever. I just want it to be really, really good as a fan, and hopefully I think it's gonna be solid. It might not be perfect, but I think it's gonna be solid. But thank you so much for listening to a brand new episode of the Nerd Barbershop Podcast. Thank you so much to everyone that has been supporting the podcast for almost 3 years now. I got some more podcast ideas coming out. I'm gonna go see Multiverse of Madness this week. Moon Knight just ended. I'm gonna do a podcast talking about that series, and also I'm gonna do my podcast talking about are video games still fun. I've been seeing a lot of discussions about that. I wanted to give my intake on that, or give my take on that as well. But thank you to everybody around the country, around the world, wherever you listen to this podcast. Thank you so much for supporting. I greatly appreciate it. I'm almost at 60 episodes. I want to get to 100 episodes of the podcast this year. I know I can do it. I got to crank out some podcasts, but you all have been have been such a blessing just listening to it, and thank you all so very much from the bottom of my heart. And thank you so much for listening to this brand new episode of the Nerd Barbershop Podcast. I'll see you in the next one. Later.